Now you done spent all this time in prison. You ain't got no business credit. You ain't got no credit. You ain't got two nickels to rub them together. That's how it directly affects you, young man.
And you know,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, touch on what he's talking about. We are starting to do, and it's not just the organization that I'm a part of, but other people I'm starting to see. We're doing things like this where we're going to the community to ask them, to listen to them. Because that's where, you know, to get them in so that we can tell them how the atrocities are going to affect them. First of all, we have to be good listeners. We have to have an attentive ear to hear what's going on. You know, that way we earn their trust. You know what I'm saying? If we're just showing up and we're telling them the services that we provide for them, but now we're not asking them, what do you need? You see what I'm saying? We won't get a chance to talk about how the things from the past or even what the decisions that were made yesterday are going to affect them down the road. So I'm watching as different organizations are starting to have more community-based, you know, conversations like this one and are listening with an attentive ear to the needs. And not just listening and having a meeting and then come back and have another meeting, but getting into the action.
All right, and can anyone speak to any particular organizations? I know you all have your own personal organizations, but can you speak to any organizations that you would want to highlight right now as doing that outreach that we're talking about?
Daybreak.
I'm sorry?
Daybreak.
Daybreak.
They're helping with homeless youth, which is a grant issue that we're dealing with here in this city. I've just met 2 homeless young men this past week. That organization is doing great work here in the city. Thank you.
Hey, you know, Felons with a Future, we're starting our monthly breakfast club. So we're going to have one May the 6th. So anybody in the community who wants to come have their voice heard, come get a meal and talk to us. You know, May the 6th at the Wesley Center. Those are one of the facilities that we're partnering with. We're partnering with most of the centers on the west side of Dayton. We're partnering, as you know, Mama O knows, we're now partnering with, you know, with Edgemont community. We're going to those places that, you know, need the help. We're reaching to them. So, you know, May 6th, if you don't have anything to do, you're hungry, come get you a meal from 10 a.m. to 12 at the Wesley Community Center.
So I would say Official Network and Chill, we actually put together a real good strategy to try to get Joe on the ballot, and I think we'll make that a conscious effort. We have other hopefuls that's also within our organization, and I think this conversation kind of motivated me to make it a more conscious effort to kind of add that more to the curriculum as well. So I appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely, and I do want to. This is great conversation. I want to continue it in so we can go a little bit deeper. What issues currently, and I think we touched on it with the MBAG going away, and that's what I meant to say. Before we go back, if anyone doesn't know, this past City Commissioners meeting, April 26th, there was a sneak agenda item that they put on at the last minute concerning the Minority Business Association certifications and the funding behind that through the city of Dayton. At the very, not to say last minute, but without public knowledge, the city commissioners had done a private email chain voting on whether or not to allow the Human Relations Council Executive Director, Erica Fields, to proceed with a grant that has been written for the city of Dayton for the past 45 years that would continue to fund this program, allowing these businesses to take advantage of the certifications and get grants underneath them. Removing this program, as they did in this meeting under the sneak attack, where they didn't allow the community to voice their concerns before they voted and didn't know that there was going to be a vote because, again, they left it off the agenda. And removing it, they have now, again, left a big gap between the people here, the small businesses, the minority businesses, and being able to access these funds, because although these certifications will remain valid, anytime they want to go after these funds, they will have to go to the federal level because the city of Dayton is no longer providing these funds. They left it up to the Dayton Chamber of Commerce to possibly pick up, but the Dayton Chamber of Commerce has never put their hat into the ring to make this a thing. And so this is an issue that a lot of small minority businesses are now dealing with right now because this is funds that were just recently stripped away from them. But I wanted to use that knowledge to go further. Are there issues that you believe are most important for your community now? And how do you think your local government could address them? given the opportunity? How would you like them to address them given the opportunity? Or what do you think we can do as it currently stands to get them addressed?
One thing, I know MBAC exists in other areas. And every area that has an MBAC program is not housed under the city government.
No.
So it's not as if MBAC has to disappear.
No.
Another organization just has to pick it up.
Right, but
It is a grant.
they left it for 2 days though. So they only had 2 days for anyone else to have come after this grant, this particular grant.
No, I get it. I get it.
And it also fires a lot of people that were working for the city of Dayton, who were being funded under the same grant program. So these people have also lost their jobs because they weren't willing to add on additional workers
Let me
to
finish.
be, yes.
So, my point that I'm making is if you stand to lose your job,
Mm.
the template is already there.
Mm.
It would be great for those same people who are losing their jobs because they have a vested interest in the city of Dayton having an MBAC program. It could be housed under the NAACP, it could be housed under the Urban League, and the actions to complete that grant doesn't have to fall short tomorrow. It doesn't have to fall short. And that's my point when I'm talking about putting in action. You know, we didn't even have to show up at the city commission meeting at all yesterday. If that was their plan, then you just get with another organization and you push it through. It's a grant. It asks questions. You answer the questions, you submit the paperwork. And you know, and it's funny because I get negative and positive feedback about my ability to get a grant. I get a piece of paper, it has a few questions, I answer those questions, I submit it, they say yes.
But that's not this grant.
Well, but it doesn't, my point is, they have a template that's they've already got the blueprint to make it happen. They don't have to keep it a
I was about to say,
secret.
but that's their willingness, one, to share that template, the time frame, again, that they left for someone else. And even if that someone else picked that up in this grant, because I did confirm with them how extensive it was, and this is a multi-page grant, so even if they have a template, because the state of Ohio has also changed their guidelines, their template is still not sufficient. So what Erica was going to do was make their template, like was going to build up what they needed to make sure that they still could satisfy this. But stopping it at this point before they even move forward, that information is not going to be able to be transferred to someone so easily. And again, this is federal money grants versus a city giving you a grant, or even going to like a GDWI, because they've already applied on the federal level, and the federal guidelines are more stringent than what you're receiving, getting your grants here funded locally or even through those other third-party organizations.
I think there's a larger question at play without getting too deep into the weeds with regard to MBAC and that particular grant. The larger question is, what services do we want our city to provide, right?
Yeah.
So let me put a little bit of context. We just gave the developers out of Baltimore, by the way, a $2 million forgivable loan, right? So we gave them the $2 million forgivable loan and a 75% tax abatement, which means this for-profit corporation does not have to provide funds and contribute to the members of the Dayton community, right? And so the abatement was given, that loan was given, right? And with all of these promises, oh, this is going to benefit the community. Black businesses will have an opportunity to participate in this development. But then 2 weeks later, you turn around and take the program that the city provided and say, nope, we're not going to help you. Get yourself up to a point where the developers of the arcade will hire you to hang drywall, to paint, to do the electricity, right? They are kind of excluding us from the process. So if the city on one hand says, okay, what we're going to do is take our resources and give it to these developers, on the other hand, they also should say, we're going to help develop small and Black and women-owned businesses to bring these things together so everybody actually benefits, not just a for-profit corporation who doesn't have to pay taxes.
Amen. So the bigger issue is then a misallocation or misfunding of opportunities that don't actually impact us as a community.
Right.
It's nice theoretically because these organizations might come in, but again, are they coming in for the people who actually live here? Are they coming in for people to come in and now take advantage of Dayton because they see that it's blooming now because of the South Central Development?
And one last point, no, I don't think anybody in this room is against development necessarily, right?
Right.
We're not for, and we live in America, people are going to make money, that's fine, right? But that's why taxes exist. If you're a for-profit corporation, if you're going to make money off Daytonians, then just pay your fair share back into the bucket so we can all benefit. So Mama can help Edgewell, so I can help Edgemont, I'm sorry. You know, so I can help Dayton View, so Five Oaks can get a piece of it. You know what I mean? Right. So that's all we're asking for. We're not saying don't develop. We're just saying pay your fair share of taxes so we can all eat as well.
And of course, we would love for it to be transparent, but the values of the individuals and the political position is the issue. Because we all sitting here know that somebody with a conscience could have said, well, you know, we think it's in our best interest to let go of this, but let's have an opportunity to find somebody who will take it on and nurture it.
Realistically.
Let's approach the community and say, okay, y'all, we're gonna take our hands off, but we're gonna let y'all put your hands on. Who wants that opportunity? Instead of, you know, the shuck and jive, the hide and seek, and that's, I think, what we all want. We just want to be included in the process with you know, without there being any sidebar, because I'm, you know, trained as a geographer, and we could sit here all day and discuss the finer points between redevelopment and gentrification. And ain't nobody gonna win. Because the goal is, if the city dies, everybody loses. And people who are not desperate are not going to plan for people who are desperate. It just don't work like that in America. You know, I was just reading about how much money Mr. Walton's son has and how many vintage cars he owns, and yet there's hungry people all throughout Arkansas. Why does anybody need $6 billion and let other people be hungry? So it's not only logistics, it's down soul value.
It's a core value issue.
It's a core value issue. You know, I ain't knowing the 21st century vocabulary. But yes, that's exactly what it is. And so as we look for candidates, we're gonna have to grow some candidates who have some conscious awareness. And everybody can't be getting in there because they want to get a new Mercedes. You know, we just can't afford to do that. And you know, today a young legislator in another state stood up and said a true thing, that if you take this care away from transgender children, somebody's going to commit suicide. I know this because I had to talk my own child down from suicide and self-maiming. So I know if the law is not going to let us support our children, yes, there's going to be blood on somebody's hands, and they need to just acknowledge that. There ain't no need in punishing me because I told you the truth.
Right.
But that's where we have to be consistent with the same words and same expectations, and just call a spade, and call Massa out every time he tried to tell us that he done something for us. And we got to tell him, not enough. You still got 350 years worth of give back, you know? And don't use the word reparation because that's a dog whistle for them people. They already getting all up, their hackles is up. Use some different words. Talk about consciousness. Talk about, you know, we love, yes. Talk about love. Talk about compassion. Everybody want to talk about, you know, the religious orientation, you know, still go to church on Sunday. Well, come on. Let the church do what the church used to do. Raise the community, right? Not just one congregation. I mean, all of us. So if somebody's hungry, what we supposed to do for the hungry? We're supposed to feed them. If somebody don't have clothes, what we supposed to do? Clothe them. We ain't supposed to tell them that it's against the law to sleep on the street and incarcerate people because they're impoverished. That's crazy.
And that is what is happening.
Yes,
and what
all
they're
over the
trying,
country.
and specifically
right,
here, they're
specifically
buying up